Tessen. Japanese warriors made use of a number of different kinds of war fans, but the Tessen was the coolest, as it was not only a useful tool, but a concealed blade. Designed to look like a simple fan for shade and signaling, they were actually made of thin iron and could have spikes on them when unfolded. Naginata. While martial arts warriors had a variety of polearms and spears available, the most impressive was probably the Naginata. A long staff with a long sword at the end, it was especially useful for women. If wielded properly, the weapon could help women cancel out their physical disadvantage in an altercation. Wooden staff. Known as the bow or jo, a simple wooden staff was actually a powerful weapon that required special training to make use of its length and leverage. The Japanese bow could also have hollow portions concealing a blowgun, darts, or a small knife. Fukiya. The Japanese blowgun, a Fukiya, is a long tube that fires darts. With no mouthpiece, the shooter must be an expert brider and be able to keep a seal using only his mouth. The darts were usually poisoned and fired from a concealed position as a first strike. In keeping with the awesome properties of Japanese weapons, it could also be used as a breathing tube if the warrior needed to go underwater to escape. Shikomizue. Also known as a prepared cane or sword stick, the Shikomizue was literally a thin sword that could be hidden in a walking cane. These weapons became increasingly popular during the Meiji period, when most people were disallowed from being armed. Because the Shikomizue looked like a cane, people could get away with carrying it. Chigiriki. A long bamboo or iron staff with a weighted iron chain at the end. The Chigiriki was an aggressive flail, meant to strike an enemy, entangle their weapon, and parry their blows. The staff was usually hollow, and could hide smaller weapons like throwing darts or caltrops, or a breathing tube for underwater escapes. Kama. These Japanese weapons are often used in pairs. When used together, these weapons can defend against an opponent who is armed with a larger weapon, like a sword. Kyoketsu-shoge. The weapons of a ninja needed to have many functions due to the fact that they traveled light and needed to move quickly. The Kyoketsu-shoge epitomized this. It was a double-edged blade, with another blade jutting out of one side. On the end was a long, strong rope that had a metal ring at the end. It could be used as a tool for climbing or rappelling, a weapon for slashing and stabbing, a rope for binding and strangling, or as a defensive implement for tangling a weapon or tripping. Kusarigama. Not content to have either just a sickle or a chain, the Kusarigama combines them to make an extremely impressive weapon. A long, curved-bladed sickle would be at the top, with a chain at the bottom, usually with a spiked ball at the end. The preferred way to use it would be to whip the chain over your head, then unleash it to wrap up or knock out your opponent's weapon. Then, you'd rush forward and use the sickle to rip your enemy apart. Tonfa. Originating in Okinawa, the Tonfa are a matched set of clubs with a grip about 2/3 of the way on one side. They are used for striking, blocking blows, thrusting, and for subduing an enemy without lethal force.
Yumi.
A Japanese warrior needed to master not only the sword but the bow. The Yumi was the traditional choice for a samurai and could be distinguished by its asymmetrical design, with the grip 2/3 of the way down the shaft. Its design made it perfect for shooting from a kneeling position or for firing on either side of a horse.
Shuang Gou.
The Chinese hook swords called Shuang Gou have a number of purposes. Their hooked heads make them perfect for disarming an enemy, while their backsides are a sharpened blade. They have sharp crescent-shaped guards to protect the hand, and can be hooked together and used as a swinging weapon. Also, they just look really cool.
Wakizashi.
A sword worn by samurai warriors, the wakizashi was different from the katana primarily in its length. It was shorter, and worked as a companion to the longer katana. It was particularly useful for indoor fighting, and could be carried when warriors had to remove their katana. Wakizashi could also be carried by commoners, as katana were reserved only for the warrior class.
Podao.
The Chinese horse cutter sword is an extremely long blade attached to an even longer handle. It's not quite a poleaxe, not quite a sword, and not quite a staff. What it is deadly, especially at long range.
Tanto.
Shorter than the traditional katana, the tanto was primarily used by samurai as a slashing and stabbing weapon in close quarters combat. The traditional kanto is a flat and straight blade with extremely sharp edges, perfect for stabbing at an enemy's unarmored weak spots.
Kunai.
Based on a masonry trowel, the kunai is a short dagger with a soft blade used to smash holes in walls and, if necessary, as a close quarters weapon. It also has a pommel at the end and can have a rope affixed to use as a climbing implement. It's mostly a multi-purpose tool, but can also kill quite effectively.
9-section whip.
A weapon of incredible striking power, the 9-section whip could come in a variety of sections and length. It had a wooden or metal handle at one end, a spike at the other, and numerous lengths of metal chain in the middle, linked by rings. They could be used for offensive or defensive purposes, blinding, slashing, tying an enemy up.
Shuriken. Hand claws Tekko-Kagi.
Four-pronged iron claws called Tekko-Kagi were used for offensive, defensive, and utility pulling up weeds purposes. Are you going to mess with a guy wearing hand claws? No, you're not.
Katana.
A long curved katana was the mainstay of the samurai, and it could be used as both a defensive and offensive weapon.
Hey guys, thank you so much for the support and likes and comments down below, and also thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to see you in the next video. Then take care, bye.